Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma, and my name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in this community. And for the month of February, we have been exploring the limitless qualities in Buddhism: loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. And so, for the next couple of days, we're just going to talk about, really touch into equanimity. And for those of you who are new to the concept of equanimity, it can be best described, I think, by another word, a synonym, which is the word inclusivity. And this is the idea that we begin to lessen our discomfort, our suffering, our dis-ease in life. The more we can cultivate some openness and some spaciousness to allow everything in, the positive things that happen in our lives, the things we judge to be negative in our lives, and those things in our lives that we deem neutral. Now, one of the things that's really important in my mind anyway, and certainly in my own practice about equanimity, is not trying to make something that I judge to be negative into something positive. Let me explain what I mean by that. In reality, there are negative things that are going to happen. For example, when my daughter was diagnosed with cancer, that was a very negative thing. It was an awful experience. And it's allowed to be that, because it is. So there are things that happen in our lives that aren't great. And that's okay. That's the nature of reality. And it can stand alone. The thing that's an issue is how we react and how we respond to that. And so if we respond to the negative things in our lives with more unskillfulness, with more misconduct, we just continue to perpetuate that negativity. We also know that with the passage of time, those things that were once really negative, as we're responding to those situations, to those conditions with wisdom and with skill, they by nature start to inform us, they start to mature us, they start to transform us. So what was a negative initial, negative thing becomes something else. So, for example, when my daughter was diagnosed with cancer, I was introduced to many, many different people, beautiful people, their stories, their experiences, their wisdom, and all of that was a very positive experience. So, my daughter's cancer journey was both negative and positive. And that really is the definition of equanimity. And it creates an openness and a kind of neutral essence of how we treat our lives and can stand before anything that life decides to throw our way. So that's equanimity in a nutshell. It is inclusivity. So today, what I wanted to do is I wanted to put in image form equanimity as something that really encompasses the whole journey of our lives. And this is something that I call the heart journey. And I started teaching this idea. I've been evolving and working with this idea for probably 10 years. I think I first started teaching it in 2015 to a community of women. And I have been working with this concept ever since because it's really meaningful to me. And that is when I think about love and compassion and joy, we often think of the shape of a heart. And why the heart? What's up with that image? What's up with that shape? And when you think about a broken heart, it usually breaks where? Down the middle. And so you have these two sort of semi-equal parts. And the whole part of a whole heart is to bring those halves together. You never see a broken heart in image form with the tops lopped off or the bottom lopped off. It's usually straight down the middle, which is an interesting idea to consider. It's our habit energy of looking at dualism, this or that. So I like to play with that image. And Lo has put together a PowerPoint presentation of images. So she's going to share the images on the screen for you. And then I have hard copies of them to pass around in the room so you can look at them. So we start with this wonderful image of a heart. And you'll notice, and I'm just going to show it here in the room. Oh, you can see it on the screen too. Can everyone see that here in the classroom? Yeah, can see that? Okay. Well, you start with this heart, and I love this particular image of the heart because you can see that it's lots of different lines. And that's to capture that everybody's heart's journey is in its own shape, in its own way. Sometimes the heart is symmetrical, sometimes the heart is asymmetrical, and it doesn't matter, just that basic form. And we begin the heart journey with the seed of possibility, and that's the spiral. And so when I think about the seed of possibility, I'm thinking about billions of years ago when the universe first happened. The only thing we know about the universe is that it was really hot and really condensed. And then something happened, kapow, the Big Bang, they say. And suddenly the possibility of all of life was created. And if we take that evolutionary history and we put it into the present moment, into each of our lives, you and me alike began with an egg and a sperm, and the miracle of them coming together, the possibility, the potentiality of you and I coming to life. And it begins there. And from there, we are an infant and a child. And in that stage of development, and you'll see that in that heart shape, it's the bulk, it's the pregnant space where we are incredibly dependent. We're dependent on our parents, on our family and community teachers. There we grow, we learn. We're also conditioned by society, by the habits of others. And it's also in this stage where we begin to mature and we begin to desire some independence. And from there, we move to the next phase of adulthood, young adulthood, and even into middle age. And that part of our lives, as it seems to me, is all about acquisition. We are consuming, we're striving, we're educating ourselves, we're working on achievement, we're trying to find purpose in our lives and meaning. We're coping with life. We've developed and encountered hardship, so we're coping with it. We're coping with it adaptively and maladaptively. We're cultivating habits that are positive and negative. So we're having this whole rich experience until we go to the next thing, which is we reach a point in our lives. I call it the point of awareness. And it's at the base of the heart shape. And you'll notice at this point, things are smaller. The space is smaller. That's because our life experiences start to concentrate. Now, not everybody experiences this point of awareness, but if you are spiritually inclined, you will. And that point of awareness means we reach some event. It might not just be one, it could be a culmination of events that somehow grab our attention. And it starts to ignite something within us that asks us to begin to reflect. And so you'll see as we go on, we're starting to reflect, we're starting to gain insight, we're starting to wonder, what is the point of all of this materialism and consumption? And as we continue to age, as we continue to ascend in this awareness, we start to let go. And we start to lose some of our independence. We start to rely on others, community, friends, family. And we're where we are now on this image, which is we become, as we age, more dependent. Maybe the body gets sick. Maybe we have an injury, and we really start to become more and more dependent on other people. And when that happens, we have to surrender. We surrender images of ourselves, stories. We surrender to all of the striving and achievement. We surrender all kinds of notions and begin to trust. We begin to trust that others are truly looking out for us, maybe even loving us, and maybe people are loving us in ways that we never imagined. And we begin to accept. And at this stage of life, the ending stages of life, in psychological terms, we're at this point where we can either despair because we are living in a place of regret and we don't have any insight as to all of the positives. We're only focusing on the regrets. Or we can live our lives in this place of absolute surrender, trust, and acceptance. This was the whole of my life. And at the very end, we return back to the seed of possibility. And the mystery of it all continues. And this, my friends, is the heart journey. It is the richness and the fullness of your life. It is the ascending, the descending. It is the positive and the negative. It is the in and the out. It is the gathering in and the letting go. It is the acceptance and rejection. It is the trust and betrayal. It is all of it and more, defining the whole of your life, my life. And at the beginning and the end of your life is the essence of all of life that has come before you and all of life that will follow you in a breath, in a heartbeat. It is the mystery and the majesty of life itself and of you and of me. The heart journey is one way, one image of thinking about equanimity. And for me, it is a really wonderful way to capture inclusivity and to allow myself what Thich Nhat Hanh refers to as freedom. So I'd like to take a few minutes of silence and allow this image to speak to your wisdom. Remember, this is only how wisdom has come alive in me. And I am sharing that with you, hoping that you'll trust your own wisdom to resonate with this, to not resonate with this, but to allow space enough for you, your knowing, to guide you, to activate within you, to come forward. enjoy this reflection and this quiet time. Friends, I'd like to bring us back by just gently tapping into the word limitless. And this simply means that there is an infinite capacity to explore these qualities. Equanimity. There is an infinite array of conditions where we can explore how dualism and the dualistic black and white, right or wrong, good or bad mind comes up in our lives. Even when we catch ourselves engaging in dualism, the mind is so quick to assign, oh no, there I go being dualistic again, as if that's bad. And really, what we're trying to do with equanimity is to create a little space to go, oh, there I go again, being dualistic again. Huh, would you look at that? Can I be neutral about it? And the moment you do that is the moment you create some non dual space, some open ended space for dualism to exist, the either or mind to exist, and something else to emerge. And that's all we're trying to do here. That's one way that we can bring ease to a mind that is so easily habituated. We see it, we acknowledge it, and we go, oh yeah, there we go again. Here's a familiar pattern of being. Now let's do something else. And that something else is meant to enrich and bring beauty and texture and wonder and curiosity to the brilliance of your life. It is a practice, and it's such a privilege to be able to share it with you. Alrighty, let's go ahead and end our practice today with a dedication of merit, friends. And I'd like you to just assume a noble posture. And as we end the month of February and we slowly start to come out of the long winter, for me, this winter has been really kind of heavy in the doldrums. And so I feel this lightness and this energizing in the sun. And so as you step into that a little bit, come into the awareness of where your shoulders are resting. And see if you can bring your shoulders back so that your heart comes forward. And that you bring that journey of the heart in full awareness and attention. And that you remember that everything you experience, positive, negative, or neutral, is informing your life. It's informing it in a way as an invitation to heal. It's also informing your life as an invitation to continue with familiar habits that may or may not be serving you anymore. With your wisdom and your insight, you get to explore what that means for you. And then, if you feel so inclined, you get to come into community and share that. That is an amazing thing. And the community in which we share is a place of refuge. And the Buddha, the Dharma, the community itself. Thank you for leaving your wisdom here as a source of inspiration and light to guide us home to our truest self. We'll see you tomorrow, friends. Namaste.